How much credit do you think President Trump really deserves for delivering this peace deal? And what does this moment also tell us about Washington's renewed diplomatic leverage in the Middle East today?
I think President Trump wishes to see himself as the world's best peacemaker and deal maker. And this deal really happened because President Trump pushed for it. But let's not forget that it was under President Trump's time in office that Israel continued to bomb Gaza and continued to violate earlier ceasefire agreements. So there is only, you have to give President Trump the credit of making this happen, but he also had the role in the continuation of the war. What does this mean for the role of the United States and President Trump in the future? I think the fact of the matter is all regional powers agree that President Trump has to remain engaged and involved in the future of the Middle East. They all see that without President Trump, Israel can act with impunity, and without President Trump's action to stop Israel, Israel would violate all international law. So everyone is very keen to keep President Trump engaged and involved in the peace process.
What do you think this means inside Israel? The release of hostages has clearly been welcomed by the political apparatus. We've seen scenes of triumph and celebration on the ground from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem and beyond. But at the same time, this also raises significant questions about Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, and his own political future.
Absolutely. I think the Israeli public is overjoyed with the release of hostages. They've been asking for that for months and months, for 2 years. There were rallies asking Netanyahu to come to some kind of arrangement for release of hostages. Netanyahu didn't want to pursue that line, didn't want to have a ceasefire for the release of hostages because he was more interested in his own political agenda and his personal agenda. And that is, politically, he is beholden to the far right in his coalition government who are pushing for continuation of war, for finishing the job, as they call it, fighting Hamas, and in the process destroying all of Gaza. And ultimately taking over Gaza and annexing it. And they were talking about that already, annexing Gaza as part of Israel and settling population there. So that's politically and also personally. Netanyahu is facing a court case in relation to bribery and fraud that he has been postponing because he is leading the country at a time of war. With the end of war, he will have no excuse not to front up to the court and answer against those charges.
Let's turn our focus to the next steps for Gaza as well. And you've already raised some critical issues with this deal. Of course, the political and economic reconstruction is going to take decades and likely cost tens of billions of dollars. What do you see as perhaps the starting point here? What needs to happen first? And ultimately, what do you see as the biggest barrier as well?
Well, the very first thing that needs to happen is establishing some kind of authority over Gaza to provide safety, law and order, and providing the basic necessities and services to the population. And if we don't want Hamas to be involved, well, someone else has to be involved. There's no indication of who that other body is going to be. The International Transition Authority that they are talking about doesn't seem to have anything in practice in place. It seems to be an observing authority. So that's the very first thing, providing safety and services to people in Gaza. Secondly, no foreign investment is going to go to Gaza if there is a real risk of repeat of war, repetition of conflict in Gaza. Israel, as I mentioned, maintains presence in the Gaza Strip. Israel reserves the right to fight, to defend itself, as they call it, against Hamas. So there is every chance that Israel would resume another war in Gaza. And with that threat, it's difficult to see how Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and other countries, UAE, Turkey, how they would start investing in the future reconstruction of Gaza.